everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and today we're going to look at the death of Cat West. Was it an accident? Was it a homicide by an unknown person? Or was her husband, Jeff, responsible for her death? And he was convicted, but many people believe he's innocent, including his friends, her friends, his family, and her family, like her own parents, are backing Jeff. So that's a lot of people who think this guy in no way could have done it. So I thought this was a fascinating case, and I'm very interested in sharing with you what I've learned, because I have crime scene reenactments for you. And that's always my favorite thing, when I can prove something with actually showing you how I think it could have happened. Okay. I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat room, and we've got a good crowd here today. And I also want to welcome anybody who would like to be in the chat room to join Patreon, $5 a month. The link is below in the description. And there are 8 lives a month, 2 every week, 1 hangout and 1 case file like today. And you can participate in that and in the community, and it supports this educational channel. But as I always say, all my shows, all my videos are 100% available to the public once the live is over. That is so that anybody can learn. I don't want things hidden. I want people learning, especially detectives, people going into any kind of work that has to do with crime scene analysis or even life analysis. So please do subscribe to the channel. That does help. Like the video, check my playlist, click the bell for notifications, and other ways to support the channel. I have my books below, and that little $ always helps out. Anyway, now that I've gotten through that, I have to let you know I'm taking these glasses off because they're fogging. It's 82 degrees in my house. Yes, I have air conditioning. It's not working. We're in a massive heat wave here in Maryland. It's unbelievable. And so it's swelteringly hot, and the lights are on me too. So I'm doing everything I can to stay cool. I have a fan. I have some ice. I have a salad. Oh my God, that feels good. Who knew? I have salad dressing. Oh, it all feels good, but it doesn't last very long. So I may just disintegrate during the show. So excuse me if you start seeing things rolling down my face, or if I tried to use one of these, but it's down my I threw a cold rag down my back, and like all the water was coming down my shirt. So it's miserable. Oh my God. 4 days of 104. Whew, that's pretty bad. What have you got? Reykjavik is hot too? Holy crap. No, oh no. Your AC broke. Well, my AC is not working so well, so it might as well be broken. So everybody's sweltering. Whew. Except the people who aren't, and we are jealous of you. Very, very jealous. Hey, Lisa, 75. Oh, that's a shame. I don't care if it's humid. Here it's like, it's Maryland. We're humid too over here. Anyway, so I was going to wear just a bathing suit top, and then I saw how much of my boobs were showing. And this is kind of the show for this, because we are talking about an OnlyFans issue in this show. And so what the heck? I mean, I could be as disrobed as Cat West has been in her life. And but I don't like doing granny porn. But if I do, I'll let you know what my new OnlyFans channel is. It might make more money than YouTube. Yes. Okay, so all right. I tell you, it is hot. I'm just checking on some of your comments here. No, I haven't gotten that desperate yet. I figure I can continue to be an educational channel, and I don't need to educate people in ways that are, I don't even know how many people like granny porn. But hey, people like anything these days, and it's really unfortunate. Anyway, okay, let's get to this case, because I found this really a fascinating case. It's one of these, sometimes when I'm doing YouTube shows and people give me the recommendations, and I go over and I look at it, I go, but there are some that I just really catch my attention, and I say, okay, well, let me take a look. And then I become fascinated. And this is one of the cases that really fascinated me, because it's a case that is, I would say, mostly circumstantial. Mostly circumstantial. So they didn't have absolute physical proof that he killed his wife. There was circumstantial stuff, and there was first of all, let me tell you where I got some of my information from. I got it from all over the internet, but I also did watch 3 documentaries, and all 3 sucked, just to let you know. I wasn't overly thrilled. All 3 of them suffer from a lot of the problems documentaries suffer from these days. And this is why people get misinformation. And it's not totally misinformation, but it's missing information. And so you get a skewed view of things, and you can't get enough information to actually determine what happened, because documentary channels often put out stuff with an agenda. They decide which way the wind is blowing, what will get more viewers, what will not get them in trouble, and then they will film that with that decision in mind. And that's why I don't do documentaries anymore, unless I'm 100% sure that what I'm saying is not going to be edited or used in a wrong way. So in this particular case, all 3 of these shows, and by the way, I want to let you know that, let me figure out which one was which. I think this is, okay, which one is which? I think this is Peacock. This is Oxygen. They actually, the weird thing about it is, if I got this correctly, I'm trying to speak properly. I watched one show, and then I went and said, did I see this other one? And I went to watch it, and I'm like, haven't I seen this piece already? And it turns out that since they're, I guess, under the same umbrella, they borrow stuff for shows from each other. They can give clips, and they don't have to, when they do the other show, they don't have to go back and get the people back in the studio and all whatever. So they can borrow stuff from each other and then do a new show, you see. So I thought I was losing my mind. I'm like, I swear to God, I've seen that. But there are 3 different shows, mostly. Now, the one I think actually did the best job was 48 Hours, The Mysterious Death of Cat West. I like theirs the best for general and solid information. This one, which was Oxygen, it was kind of a mess. I got a couple interesting things out of it, but other than that, it was pretty much of a mess. Now, can I link? I can't really link all 3, but I'll put the information in the description. And if you have Peacock or Oxygen or whatever, or you can try it on YouTube, you can find it. Autopsy, The Last Hours. This is a ongoing series, and it was, in my opinion, really bad. But I learned some things from it. But I was frustrated because the things I wanted to learn about, I learned like a piece of it, and I'm like, wait. I want more information about that. What am I looking at? Where is this coming from? And so I just want to keep in mind as I go through this, sometimes I do not know if I'm seeing a crime scene photo or a staged photo by the TV people, or if I'm getting only half of whatever. I was never able to find autopsies on the internet. I was not able to find crime scene photos on the internet or crime scene sketches. I couldn't find anything about the trial. Very limited information. All 3 of these, in my opinion, what they were trying to say, because it made it, I think, got more interest in the audience, was that that Jeff West most likely didn't kill his wife, and he got 16 years. Now, mind you, they offered him a plea deal, which he could have basically walked, just done time served and walked. And he didn't take it, which is fascinating, which usually means they're innocent, for gosh sakes. And so that struck me. It's like, this guy could have walked out of there. Why didn't he take the plea deal? He says, because I didn't do it. And I won't admit to doing something I didn't do. Hey, that I respect 100%. And they point that out, and he's still in prison. He went for an appeal, and he lost. So he's been in there for a long time. His daughter, who was 12 at the time, is now grown up. All three of these shows all have the slant of he is innocent. Okay, so I just have to say that up front, because when you're looking at shows, you have to say, is it balanced, and do they provide all the information so I can look at he's innocent, he's not innocent, and come to a reasonable conclusion based on both sides being presented equally. This is not, none of these three are that way. So the question is, are all these three pushing that he's innocent because it seems like he is, and maybe he is innocent and therefore they don't want to go to he's actually guilty? Or are they just going with the wind blows and maybe he is guilty, but they're not presenting the evidence? So that's how confusing this is. But I think I can break through this and help you understand what the facts are. Okay? So, and oh, by the way, for the autopsy case, let me tell you who's, well, in all three of these, I think you see the police just a wee bit in a couple of them. And then this guy, that guy you're seeing on the left, is Dr. Michael Hunter. He's a forensic pathologist. He is basically the lead in all of these autopsy shows. Not a fan. I'm not a fan. I don't like the way I don't like his voice when he presents. I find it very phony. I don't know if he's just not skilled at it or I don't know. But I find like it almost feels like he's being told what to say. And some of his very vague conclusions and stuff that just made no sense to me. I was not fond of his analysis, shall I say. So I wanted to let you know who he is. And then this is John Robbins. That's Jeff West's attorney. He pops up in the shows and points out some reasonable things, which I'll get into. And I do want to point these people out too. Kat's parents are in the back. And I'm sorry. Got that backwards. Jeff's parents are in the back and Kat's parents are in the front. And in this one show, they asked, if you think he's innocent, raise your hands. Now, they all did raise their hands, all four of them. However, I did notice, quite interestingly, that the parents of Kat raised them a little bit slower. Although they do have his back, they say he's innocent, but they were a little slower. So I just thought that was interesting. But all four of them saying they think he is innocent. So I want to start with that so you understand the background to this this video, and then I'll get into what actually happened. What actually happened with this couple? Okay. Ooh, okay. Hold on a second. I'm just drowning here. It's ridiculous. Ooh. Oh my gosh. I'll check a couple of your comments while I call myself off. Oh my God, that actually feels good. Who knew that lettuce worked like that? But it's green, so it disappears with the green screen behind me. Oh, that feels good. All right. All right, let's see. I'm looking for some interesting comments here. Everybody's in blue today. I can't see any of you guys. I have not a clue. Okay, well, I have a little comment here from Lisa. Absinthe was created by the canton of, okay, I got to try to pronounce this correctly. Is it Neuchâtel or is it Neuchâtel? That N word in Switzerland, not the other N word. I'm getting in trouble. I'll probably get demonetized just for that. Oh, this world is so difficult to navigate. In Switzerland in the late 18th century by the French physician Pierre Ordinaire. He's just ordinary. That's interesting. So yes, the absinthe bottle is a big part of this show. And I am going to do a crime scene or reenactment with, well, I went to buy an absinthe bottle. So I want to tell you, I spend money sometimes to do these shows and sometimes I never make it back. But there is this absinthe bottle is very unique in its looks. It's a very tall bottle and it looks just like this. Okay, wait, I got to put this someplace where you can see it. All right. It is a tall bottle and it actually has a very long neck. And this is extremely important in this case, okay, because that makes a difference in how this was used theoretically as the weapon if she was murdered. Okay. It may have been an accidental death. She could have been hit with something else. She had something smashed her head on the left side. Okay. Left a 2-inch big cut on her head, and basically her brain went, and that was that. Now, so there's 3 possibilities. One was it was this bottle you see lying on the ground. The second was that she hit maybe the curb when she fell in the street drunk, or some other person came and hit her with something that isn't at the scene. But this is supposed to represent this absinthe bottle, but I could not find, they do not sell that in the Maryland liquor stores, and it's also really expensive. So I managed to find this crappy white tequila, which I don't even like, but the liquor store said I could return it after I pretend bash people in heads on this show. So I really like that store. They're pretty cool. So I'm going to use this in a bit to show you the crime scene reenactment, because that to me is the most fascinating thing of this whole case. So now you have people there going, what the heck is going on? Who is Kat? All right. I'm going to read a little from Cassie O'Hara medium.com, just because she wrote a better thing than anybody else. So, and I'll link that because I want to give some credit for writing something readable. Okay. Kathleen West was 42-year-old stay-at-home mom living in Calera. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm pronouncing that with a trilled R. It's not Mexico. Calera, Alabama, with her husband Jeff and their 12-year-old daughter. That's husband Jeff and the 12-year-old daughter, who I'm not showing a picture of out of respect. Kathleen was known for her beauty and carefree personality. It was said she closely favored Marilyn Monroe. And I've seen some pictures where she comes close enough, and if she puts on the right makeup, she's kind of a Marilyn Monroe lookalike. I get that. She constantly posted modest photos of her and her family living their suburban life to her Facebook account. Jeff worked as a Birmingham Southern College campus security officer and was a U.S. Army veteran. To the outside world, they appeared to be a normal, happy family. Kathleen, however, had a secret life. No, I'll stop right here. There was nothing secret about her life. I do not know what her 12-year-old daughter knew, but everybody else knew what her life was about, okay? Including her husband, including her friends, including both their parents. There was no secrets going on here. So at the time of her death, she did have a Facebook page, but she also, at the time of her death, had OnlyFans. And here she is. Here she is. Her name, if you can see at the bottom, it's interesting. It says Birmingham, Alabama. It's not exactly where she lived, but she puts her real name in, which is it's Kitty Cat West. She called herself Kitty Cat, but her name is there, Cat West. You know, if you're doing porn, maybe your real name isn't the wisest thing when you have a child and you live in a community. But she was, and she claimed, and she admitted she was an exhibitionist. And this gets to be a real issue in this case. So here she's got, she actually ended up, I think at the time of death, she had 50,000 followers on OnlyFans. And you see here, follow for $15.99 per month. Okay. So here's a little more meow, meow, kitty chow. Okay. OnlyFans.com, Kitty Cat West. All right. And she says right there, exhibitionist. Okay. What do I mean by she's kind of exhibitionist-like? All right. Let's look at a couple. If this doesn't get me, one thing doesn't get me demonetized and something else will. Okay. By the way, these boobs, they were paid for. Supposedly her husband had taken out a second mortgage to pay for her boob job. And I heard it was not her first one. So she's in her 40s, mind you, where she's not 20 anymore. So she's ramping it up to keep the love coming. This is kind of just a household picture. She didn't like to wear much clothing. And there are stories. One woman on one of the shows said, well, you know, when we first met her, I was there with my husband, and like she leaped off the kitchen counter, totally naked from the top up, and no shirt, no bra, just woo! And we're like, ah! That's not normal. I'm going to get into some of her psychiatric issues. Okay. She's doing porn. I want to point this out because people always want to play this stuff down. This is not porn. This is sensual photos, intimate kind of photos. Something that, okay, it's a bit, it's obviously revealing, but not revealing everything. And what happens is when you do OnlyFans, which I do not know anything about doing, just laughing at the granny porn thought, it's very, even I don't want to see myself that way. It's like, no. Maybe when I was 19, but yeah, I'm not 19. So anyway, what you do is you show some photos which are alluring, and that's for free. Then you go, if you want a little bit more, you're going to pay $14.99 a month. And then, and this is why I think may play into could have been what happened. If you think her husband is guilty of killing her, could be because she started crossing the line. And when I say crossing the line, that she's just doing a handstand. She's just doing a splits on a that's a trampoline in the backyard. Well, I assume it's for her daughter, but apparently her family said she liked to run out there nude and jump around in the nude. And this is her with like some, I don't know if there's a real picture of her, but she had mentioned to her husband about that time that she wanted maybe to experiment with other women, with women, not other women, but women. And that they were having some sexual issues, like she wanted more and he couldn't keep up. And when you're on OnlyFans, you can start ratcheting up the prices for private stuff. Like, you tell me what you want and I'll give it to you online. Or you can do videos, pornographic videos. You can do all kinds of stuff. And some people I do think meet offline as well, which involves then prostitution as well as pornography and hardcore porn. So OnlyFans can be, you can have a channel and not do any porn at all. You could just be a famous person who puts up pictures like, I'm having wine over here in Italy. You can do that. And if people want to follow you because you're famous, that's one thing. But the majority of OnlyFans is porn. It's porn. The majority of it is. That's how people make money. And for whatever reasons, some pretty sad fellas go over there and they think they're having I think I might want to get rid of I don't know if I have devil's horns or that I shouldn't be between her legs. I think I'll change that. Okay, hold on. Let me get a better background. Okay. All right then. It's making me hot. No. Oh my God, I can have so much fun with this stuff. It's not, and it's a homicide case, and so it really is sad. But you know me, I have a tendency to be humored by a lot of things I shouldn't maybe be humored by. So now I want to get to the rest of her life leading up to this. All right, so, oh Lord, men are wired so differently. Well, that is true, but the concerning part is this: There are sex sites on the internet which are frankly free, like Pornhub, and I'm not shilling for them, but that's free. And so guys go there because they can, women too, because they can, and it's easily available. You can pretty much see anything you want to see, unfortunately, outside of child pornography. But that's not enough for some people. They want a personal relationship. At least a fake personal relationship. So that's what OnlyFans draws in, these people who have this need to have this connection to this person who is just playing them. They're not really, they don't give a crap about their porn fans. I do give a crap about you. You're my patrons and the people who want to learn something and be educational something. So I do feel connection to you guys. But most of the time when you have these women on OnlyFans, the majority of the time what they're doing is playing all the guys or women or whatever as if they're oh, I like you, you're so wonderful, I'll show you this because you turn me on too. They know how to do this crap. So but the fact that somebody would find that a need in their life shows you they got a lot of lonely dudes out there who've got emotional problems, shall we say. Anyway, let me read a little bit more. So she talks about her alter ego, which is not her alter ego. So she became known as Kitty Cat Online with her OnlyFans channel. However, I want to point this out. It didn't start after she was married. So it's not like she met her husband. They met at a Super Bowl party, fell in love immediately, and then they've been married 14 years. And during those 14 years, and having a child who was now 12 at the time of her death, that she suddenly was bored in marriage and had to do this. Now, I'm not going to say she didn't have some boredom in marriage. And I'm going to get into why I think this was, why she went the OnlyFans way. Before she got married, what her own parents say is that as a teenager, she had serious emotional problems. They said therapist after therapist after therapist. When your parents keep taking you to jumping from one therapist to another, you probably have severe emotional problems. She was labeled as bipolar. When I say labeled, I'm not sure I trust half the quote diagnoses that are given by whomever. But she was labeled bipolar. She was given some medication. But then she went into the real world. She graduated from school and she became an exotic dancer / stripper / prostitute. Because I will say over and over again, exotic dancers and strippers don't make enough money. They can make good money, but only usually when you work in clubs like that, the owner of the club will say he doesn't want you to prostitute, but he wants you to prostitute. And that's where some big money is. And that's what most of them do. Okay. And many times if they don't participate in prostitution on the side, which is why a lot of guys come to the clubs, because that's a way you can go to the club and find the girl you want. You don't have to pick them up off the street or call an escort agency. You can just go there, pick out one, and then you can cozy up to her and make her an offer. And if it's enough of the money, she'll take it. So people never want to admit that, but I believe that is 99% true. Now, she apparently, when she was quite young, bought something like a $300,000 house when she was like 20 or something, or 21. She's making money. So during this period of time, she was also supposedly had some drug issues and got into a very bad relationship. Never was explained. This is one of the things I got frustrated with the documentaries. So they tell you this stuff. I want to know the details. How long was she? Where was she working? Who's this bad relationship? Was it a pimp? What was it? I don't know. I have no idea what it was, but it wasn't good. So somewhere around this time, she'd been in the biz a while, she runs into Jeff and at a Super Bowl party. And again, I don't know what the Super Bowl party was. The Super Bowl party was friends getting together, or was she a entertainer at the Super Bowl party? I don't have a clue. So they meet, fall madly in love. Immediately get married very quickly, and off to California they go. And then they have this child, and they come back to Alabama because that's where both their parents are, and they want this child to have their grandparents. Well, I think that's fantastic. I do. Oh, by the way, she's an alcoholic as well. Now, there's this marriage. She's now a stay-at-home mom and puts nice pictures up on Facebook, with clothes on and, things like, look, I made a cake, But then it went to become OnlyFans. And before you think she was doing this behind her husband's back, she was not. He was taking a lot of the pictures. I don't know how many of the pictures, but he was taking pictures. He knew she had the channel. He was taking pictures for the channel. And also he was buying her alcohol. And on the night she got killed, someone or died one way or the other, he admitted he went, and there's a picture of it. They went out on their date night. They have a date night they supposedly every week, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, they had a date night. They went out to dinner. They had drinks. They went to a bar. They had more drinks. Then they went to this liquor store. And here she is. She looks happy. And he seems happy. They both seem happy. This is where they buy the absinthe. And I think they buy a bottle of whiskey. That's only two I know about. I didn't see the cash register checkout. I wish I had. But then and they joke, they say how, oh, they look so happy, and he was, playful with her, like she was at the cash register. He says, hey, he pats her butt and says, hey, come on, let's go. Okay, I don't, could be shut up, let's go. I don't know what the meaning of that was. Or you're being too friendly, let's go. Or were they just having fun? But he was asked later on, she's an alcoholic, why would you buy her this? And he says, well, let me see if I can find a comment. I want to read you exactly what he said, because I think this plays into a lot of the issues of what their relationship was actually all about. Let's see. Let me find it. Well, I got a bunch of different things. I purposely made sure. Oh, here we go. This is during the interview with the police. They played an audio portion of his interview with police during which Jeff West was asked if the couple had arguments. He said it was nothing out of the ordinary, but that they argued over her drinking, because she was an alcoholic. I don't like her drinking, he told them. Asked why they bought liquor that night. He said, I love her, and she said she could control it. Whoa. What? Okay. If she's an alcoholic, she cannot control it. She cannot. Yet you are helping her buy alcohol. As a matter of fact, and this is an interesting comment. After she died, there was this he got pissed off because out in the community there were they were trying to do her memorial, and then there were all kinds of gossip was going around, stalking and stuff. And you see here, he said, we're having a private ceremony for Kat, and apparently they've had a lot of media coverage. People are stalking. I want to apologize to family and friends for this, but we had to do this for the family. To the public, our tragedy is juicy. All negative and unfounded comments, blah, blah, blah. And then he says he wants to thank the police department, and he talks about his daughter being affected by this gossiping and all this stuff. Maybe, if you're concerned about the welfare of your daughter, the two of you, maybe mom will be in therapy on proper drugs. She would be in alcohol programs, so she would not be an alcoholic. And she would not be displaying herself in porn on YouTube. And you're helping her. You are actually taking the pictures and encouraging her. You are an enabler, Jeff. You enabled her to drink. You enabled her to do porn. You didn't put a stop to this. And your daughter was growing up with that. Now, your mother, her mother, you can say all the nice things you want. She's friendly, blah, blah, blah. She's a great mom. A great mom does not do porn. I'm sorry. I don't care about all this modern garbage out there. No child wants to grow up knowing their mother is doing porn. It's sick. And if you're a mother, you would never want your children to see you in those conditions. And I knew this when I was 19 years old, because I was in Hollywood and I was offered a penthouse, because I was doing trying to do modeling and actor stuff. I was offered a penthouse feature. And I think it was a pretty good amount of money. I can't remember. I think it was $10,000, something like that. It was a lot of money at the time. I was 19. And I said to myself back then, this is before the days of the internet even existed where everything lasts forever. I said, no, I can't do this, because what if I do this? First of all, it's fairly humiliating anyway, but still, if I do this, this magazine is going to last forever. My parents could see me. And it was Penthouse was a little more risque than Playboy, so not just the boobs, but so I'm like, they could see this. What if I have children someday? Do I want my children? I say, hey, they're at school, and they go, hey, guess what I found? I found your mom from this Penthouse. Oops, I just hit something. Penthouse magazine from. Oh, look at your mom. Do I want my kids to go through that? The answer would be no. At least I knew. Don't put something that's going to last forever in the public eye. Don't do that. I was also offered a role in a Charlie's Angels movie. Well, they weren't so angelic. But we were going to get to go to Paris, three of us, and that was porn. And I said no, because again, oh my God, my family would see this. I don't want my family seeing me doing this stuff. I mean, gross as it is in general, I still wouldn't want it to be out there. She didn't have that problem. She was an exhibitionist. She said that. She's jumping around naked in front of people. Her husband doesn't stop her. That's not okay. I'm sorry, it's not okay. That is inappropriate behavior. People weren't even expecting. It's not like they were swingers. It's like these are some friends, and like they were going, ah. If they're going, ah, it's inappropriate. And you're sitting there going, oh, and letting your wife do this stuff. And I say letting, but you didn't have a problem with it. You didn't try to stop it. This guy's an enabler of the nth degree. If he met her while she was in the biz, into prostitution, he already knew what she was doing. And maybe he was titillated by it and excited, which is why he didn't mind taking the pictures of her, because it did have something that interested him. So then, therefore, he was willing to let his wife go ahead and keep doing stuff like that, even though they had a child, even though they were supposedly having a suburban lifestyle. Maybe for him it was a sick thrill. I don't know. But people say he's the nicest guy in the world. He was always kind or always sweet. I don't have a lot of respect for him. Sorry. I don't have respect for a man who would raise their child with a woman who is putting out porn. Sorry. Don't have it. Doesn't mean you're a killer. I just don't have a lot of respect for you. Maybe I'm old-fashioned in that way, but sorry. You did not provide a good lifestyle for your child. Your wife is jumping around naked outside, running around. Family even said sometimes she ran around naked outside the neighborhood. That's not okay. That is not okay. And if she's sitting there doing porn in her house when she's supposed to be raising her child, it's not okay. Sorry. But that's just me, and that's my little soapbox on it. So, but I just want you to know this was not hidden from him, but yet, about the time this all went down, there were some concerns in this marriage. Everybody said they were super happily married, but yet, the police found these texts. She wrote to him, "You're throwing away almost 14 years of a relationship." She said, "If you don't want me, fine, I'll find somebody else." Now, supposedly, because none of these shows will show us all of the texts, I wanted to see all of them. I want to see a month's worth. I want to know whether she's just one of these constantly needy people, because she's highly narcissistic, which I think is true. I think she's a massive narcissist. Everything has always had to be, she loved attention, massive amounts of attention, and she would do anything to get that attention. So I don't know if she's just needling him to go, "You don't love me." And he's going, "Yes, I do, honey. I love you. You don't think I'm sexy anymore because I'm 40. Yes, I think you're sexy." He responded mostly in a very nice way. Like, "No, I love you. You're sexy, blah, blah, blah." So I can't tell what's going on here. But this does interest me. You're throwing away almost 14 years of a relationship. Why? What's going on? This was about the point in time where supposedly he was saying he couldn't quite keep up with her sexual stuff. He bought her sex toys, and she wanted to go with women. And my guess is, just my guess, she's on OnlyFans, and you're going to make way more money on OnlyFans by doing things that are either highly pornographic, or you're going to step out and you're going to start charging in the real world. And maybe he'd had enough. Maybe the thrill was wearing off for him. And he's like, "Look, either you're just going to be with me, or I'm done, kind of. I'm middle-aged now. And quite frankly, I don't want this kind of relationship." And maybe he did start having concerns about his daughter following in the mother's footsteps, for example. Maybe he started getting concerned. So that's where the kind of background is to the night where they went to that. Now they've gone to the liquor store and bought the bottle of absinthe and a bottle of whiskey. When we get back to the house, they say there was some claim that he said they drank 6 drinks apiece. I don't know if that is true or it's not true. Again, we don't know what 6 drinks. We don't know. This is why I'm so annoyed with these kind of shows. If you're going to say that, where does that come from? Was it a police statement? What about the bottles? Was a whiskey bottle half empty? What's in the bottles? What's left? And also, just because, and this is just an important point, just because they stopped at a store and bought 2 bottles of liquor doesn't mean they were drinking that liquor that night. Especially for an alcoholic, she didn't want to wake up in the morning and find she didn't have anything to drink. So they may be buying stuff for the future, planning. "Oh, we got wine at home. We've got vodka at home. We're going to go home and make whatever, and we'll drink that. But hey, let's get this too. Or maybe we're going to have each one have a drink of absinthe, but we'll have the rest of it will be vodka." Who knows what they were thinking? I don't know that I don't know exactly what they drank, except that she was 3 times the limit when her body was found. She was highly intoxicated. They didn't seem to take, as far as I know, anything about him. I don't know how drunk he was. And that could make a difference in how he was handling himself and what he remembered. He claims he didn't remember much because he had drank too much. I don't know if that's true because I don't know what he actually drank from these 3 fairly useless shows. Let me check some of your comments, and I'm going to go to the actual crime scene now. Hell, do facts even matter anymore? Karen Reed had 9 drinks in 1.5 hours, and she got a mistrial. Well, that's a good point. Does it matter? Well, it matters when it comes to the court. Now, I learned nothing from these shows about what the jury thought. I got a little bit of what was presented in court, but it was very vague. So I'm going to explain to you the crime scene and do a crime scene reenactment. I think I've come as close to the most logical possibility as I can without knowing all the rest of the crap. And again, this is an educational channel, so I'm showing you how I would think through this. I'm not saying that my final analysis is accurate or will prove he's guilty or innocent. So let's see. That's true. The limit pertains to driving, not illegal when sitting at home. No, they can be drink off their butts if they want to be at home. They weren't going anyplace. That's fine. But it would help understand what their mindset is. And if you're going to claim you can't remember stuff because of your mind, or somebody had an accident because he believes his wife went outside and drunk off her butt and then fell on her butt and cracked her head open. That's what he believes, and that's what his lawyer believes or says. That's what they claim they think happened. But we don't know that. I mean, she was seriously pretty. She had a high alcohol content. But mind you, she was also an alcoholic. So I don't know how she responds to the level of alcohol in her system. So, you can have somebody who doesn't drink much and have 3 drinks and be so pretty much out of it. She could probably drink 12 and be perfectly fine. So it's hard to say. Again, if you don't get solid information, it's very hard to determine. Maybe she purposely chose a less attractive man. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's less attractive, but I will say this. If you're trying to control somebody, you want to be more attractive than them. There's always a person who loves more than the other person. That's an old saying. One of you loves the other person more. And the person who is loved more is the one who's in control. So there's a truth in that. The husband seems like an enabling dolt. And I appreciate you using my word dolt. As long as you get your needs met, you look the other way. And there is a truth to that. Now, there's some people out there who will say that men are like dogs, that as long as you pat them on the head, give them sex, and feed them, they're good. And there's probably some truth to that. Sorry, guys. But there's probably some truth to that. They're a little simpler in needs than females, who can be kind of a pain in the butt in the other direction. So, yes, maybe he's like, hey, she's hot and sexy. Everybody thinks I won the lottery here. They don't have to know about her entire background. We're not going to bring that up. We're going to move back to Alabama, and everybody will think I've got this perfect stay-at-home wife who is sexy as all get out. What a lucky guy I am. But the problem is everything worse than. I've been married 14 years, and she was moving up in YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube, up in OnlyFans, and increasing her OnlyFans content to include more and more pornographic stuff. That becomes a problem. Not saying it did, but it could. All right, let's go to the crime scene. All right. So they went home. And this is where I find it gets very interesting. So they're at home. And I think this is their house in Calera. And now they set out and have some drinks. Okay. And they're drinking supposedly absinthe. what we don't know, that's what they're drinking, or that he's drinking it, or that she's drinking it, or they're both drinking it. We just, honest to gosh, don't know because they're not telling us. However, at some, let me read from our okay, let me read the basics of what happened that morning. All right. Things appeared to be going well for the Wests until the morning of January 13th, 2018, when Kathleen is found dead, lying face down across the street from her home. Okay, across the street. And this is kind of important. And unfortunately, I wish I had a picture from the other direction. She's on this side of the road. The house is over there, and I wish it was flipped around, but I can't find anything. I don't even know if this is just fake. But anyway, house over here, she's found over here. Okay, lying face down across the street from her home. Also important to understand. Her body is mostly, a lot of it's on the lawn over here, and her face is in the street. Okay. And she was discovered at 5 a.m. by a 19-year-old neighbor on her way to work. When she was found, she was wearing only a sports bra. Now it's January. It's supposed to be kind of chilly, even though it's Alabama. It's kind of chilly. What is she doing running around outside of her house in just a sports bra? Now, mind you, there is a reason for the sports bra. The reason is she had gotten the boob job, and it's like she's wearing that to keep her boobs, comfortable. But she's got no panties on. She's got no shirt on. She's running around with just a bra on outside the house. To me, this is extremely important. Now, some say it's because she's an exhibitionist. She likes to run around naked in the streets. And so that may be possible, but I don't think that's probable. So she's out there laying down, face down, her face is on the pavement. There's blood near her. There's blood near her there, and there's also blood on the grass. So let me throw up a picture here. Okay. Again, I have no idea if this is crime scene photos or fake photos from the video, the documentaries. I couldn't quite figure it out. But up here in the grass, back over there, is blood. And then there's blood on this curb, and her face is in the street. And then this is the bottle that's laying in the street on top of her phone, like that. You can, and notice the cap to the left, the cap to this bottle. And one, I think it was the autopsy thing, claimed that he'd seen some information, the forensic pathologist, and said this was a half full bottle of absinthe. Police believe this looks staged, which is, if she's out there staggering around drunk, I'm not sure why the bottle wouldn't be smashed on the ground or why it would be sitting on her phone. And what's also interesting to me is that the absinthe bottle is on an angle on her phone, so that the absinthe is not pouring into the street like there's still some in the bottle. And the cap is not on it. Why isn't the cap on it? So this is very important to me. If she's running around the street with her phone and an absinthe bottle, how is she holding all this stuff? She takes the cap off. Where's the cap going? She can't put it in her shorts pocket because she isn't wearing any shorts. I guess she could put it in her boobs, but then it wouldn't be lying on the ground. So where's the phone? Is the phone in one hand and the absinthe bottle is in another? But then what does she do? Is she pulling? I guess she could hold the phone and take off the cap and then swig some of it and then trip and fall. And it all lands like that. Okay. Not entirely likely. So the problem is it looks staged. And the other problem here is that there's blood on the lawn, and then it looks like her body was actually moved to this location. The police believe that somebody moved her body from the lawn and then dumped her into the street to look like she was hit by a car or that her head hit the pavement here, which could account for the hit on her head. She could have tripped and hit that pavement. Now this is it's a little bit rounded, a little bit, and the bottle's a lot less sharp. So if you look at the pavement, and again, I can't see the pavement here. I can't tell whether the pavement could have caused the damage or the bottle could have caused the damage, depending on how much of the original coroner said that the bottle was a rounded object that hit here. Is this rounded enough to be that object? I don't know because I'm not there. So to me, it's either the curb or the bottle. Now, I'll stop here to say, let's get rid of it's somebody else. Besides, in other words, it's either an accident or the husband killed her. Let's get rid of the stalker thing. Some people say, oh my God, she was on OnlyFans. She's got stalkers, especially since she put her name out there and told where she lived. Could have a stalker. But the chances of them coming home to the house, drinking together, she runs outside half naked for reasons unknown and just runs into a stalker who hits her, who decides not to rape her and just hit her over the head. Makes no sense. So I'm just going to eliminate that because I don't waste my time with it. It's either an accident or husband killed her. One of those two. Now, he claims, let me read some of the stuff that he claims and see whether this makes sense. Some of it does. Now, it was initially assumed that Kathleen got drunk and fell, hitting her head and causing her death. It was said she often went outside and danced or jumped on the family's trampoline after a few drinks. But they started having issues with that. All right, so then we get to the evidence. When the police arrived at the scene, they noticed the green bottle was placed directly on top of Kathleen's cell phone, which appeared strange, almost staged. Forensic pathologist Dr. Stephen Boudreau completed the autopsy and ruled her death was caused by blunt force trauma to the head, which absolutely is true. But then he put undetermined as far as manner of death. So he didn't know if it was an accident or it was homicide. And this is the problem: curb or getting whacked in the head. And again, I can't tell exactly what it is. Now, I believe that this guy, he came up with this concept that she wasn't whacked in the head because, let me see if I can try to explain his theory to you. And then I'll get on to the details around the crime happening. He says, let's see what it is. Is this it? No, that's them. Okay, sorry. Working through a couple pictures here. My picture is missing. You all knew. Oh no, is this it? No. Okay. Now you can yell. Now all of you who have the thing where you do stuff because I'm missing a picture. You may now drink whatever alcohol you're drinking because I can't find my picture. Hold on. It did not come over. One more second. Okay, I can't find it. So I'm just going to tell you what happened. So there's a thing. It is called, I did blow it. I did. Okay. It is called, let's see if I can locate it. Because I want to give that guy be a little bit fair about this. If she was hit on the left side of the head with a bottle, there is a terminology, and I want to read the terminology to you. Coup contra coup. It's a little detailed there. I'm going to try to make it palatable as soon as my internet wants to let me see. Okay, here we go. What is coup contra coup brain injury? All right. Head injuries have two types. Coup injury is where it happens on the point of impact. So you take this bottle and you whack her on the left side of the head. Now, it could be that she's standing in front of you, and if she's hit over here, it's okay. I can't do this because it's I'm on a video here. If she's standing in front of him and he attacked her, he would have to hit her with the right hand to get on the left side of her head. Okay. And so he'd whack her here, and it says here, a coup injury happens at the point of impact with an object, whereas a contra coup injury takes place on the opposite side of the skull from the impact. So if you hit here, then they have your brain goes on this side. Now, you can also have both sides do that. So that's where it gets confusing. And then you have what's called coup contra coup. See how complicated this is? And so when you get this guy comes up and he says, well, I don't think she was just hit on the side of the head because she had this contra coup injury over here. So therefore, the many times, I won't say the majority because this is, when you read about these contra coup injuries, it's always from a defense attorney for auto accidents. So they're always trying to prove things based on that. So the concept is your head whacks something in the auto accident, like comes a solid object, and your head doesn't move any from, and so then you have your brain shifts and messes up this side. So he's saying, which is why he believes it's an accident, that she didn't get hit on the side of the head because she wouldn't have had this injury over here as well. That she hit something like this curb. She went down, tripped, hit the curb, and therefore she had this contra coup injury. And if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, sorry, I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm reading it, so I've never heard it pronounced. However, if you are hit here, you can sometimes end up with a contra coup injury anywhere else. That's where the coup contra coup comes in. And it's very confusing. Also, the pathologist, I think it was a coroner there, he said this was what this was brought up in court. Now, whether he's correct or not, it's what was brought up in court, that she was hit with a blunt object that was rounded. He indicated he thought it was this. Okay, so we're still at the point where, did he hit her with the bottle they were drinking out of, or did she somehow run out of the house drunken and fall and hit her head on this curb? Well, one of the problems I have with the curb thing is how did the blood get up in the grass over here if she hit her head here? Because if she fell and cracked her head open here, that should be the end. Supposedly she was pretty much unconscious from the moment she got hit or hit something. She should just be lying there with her face here and her feet in the street. But if let's say she jumped over the curb and ran around and then tripped and fell and her head went forward and hit the curb somehow, why is there blood behind her? And how does theoretically, she could have crawled in the street at that point, I suppose. But if she fell in the grass where the blood is, she couldn't have hurt herself here because that's too much blood and her head would have already had been cracked. So the blood behind her doesn't make any sense. So to me, I have a trouble having this be accidental for this reason, because I can't get her in the right positions when her head's cracked. If she had her face on the curb and her feet in the street, I might go for it, and there was no blood up here, but it's not really working for me. So I'm having trouble with this. However, let's go on to that night, because the claim is that this is what supposedly happened. All right. What was the story? The story is they drank, and then he went to bed at 10:30, gave her a kiss goodnight. He went to bed because he had to get up in the morning. And then Kat was up drinking some more. That's what's presented. Now, there are some points which I find, it took me a while to try to even figure out what they even meant. So he says he went to bed at 10:30, got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, he hears the sirens, his dogs start barking, and he finds that his door is open. It's been open for hours, it turns out. Let me read you about the door. And you have to pay really good attention here, because this is where the analysis part comes in. All right. ADT security data showed the front door of the couple's home was opened and closed at 10:53 p.m. Now, actually, it was open for like 10 seconds. Somebody opened the door at 10:52, 10:53 p.m. and then closed it. Think about this. Why? What would have happened then that the person opened and closed it? But theoretically, could have let the dogs out. but that would be the front yard, not the backyard. And Jeff never said he let dogs out. Basically, they just drank, and then at 10:30 went to bed, and that's the last he remembers of anything, because he was pretty drunk, so he just said, I went to bed. Door opens at 10:30 for 10 seconds, somewhere around there, and then closes. All right. So actually, let me give you the exact on that, because this is actually very important. The door, and it's kind of hard to keep in your head. I'll go over it again. The door opened 10:53:01 p.m. and closed at 10:53:11 p.m. That's your 10 seconds. Okay? Opened, closed, 10 seconds. It opened again at 1:51 a.m. and remained open until 5:12:45, at which time it was closed, because now he's awake, right? Supposedly. So, what is the reason for the door opening and closing after 10 seconds? That's question number one. Question number two is, why did the door open up at 1:51 a.m. and not close until Jeff got up? I'm gonna let you think about that. I'm gonna look at some of your comments, and we'll go on to what I think some of those things mean with the evidence that's presented. If the bottle was not smashed like on the pic, where's the blood from? Oh, the bottle wasn't smashed. It was a very heavy bottle, and it cracked her head. There was blood a little blood on the bottom there was a chip on the bottom of the bottle, and some of her blood was on the bottom of the bottle, just to point that out. And I just want to point out, this bottle, I'm going to try to hit myself with it. If you hit me with this bottle is the weight of these bottles. Can you see that? You see how thick the glass is here? And when you have liquid in it, it's very solid. So if you hit me with this bottle, you could crack my head open and the bottle would not smash. Only reason the bottle would smash is if the bottle were fairly empty or totally empty and was a thin bottle. So it's like if you had a really thin wine bottle or something and you smash it on somebody's head, it would break, because especially if it's empty. But it's very heavy at that point. And if you hit somebody with that, the bottle is not going to smash. And that is an important point. So good. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's see. Terrible. Was Karen Reed in the area? No, she wasn't. Why would husband kill his meal ticket? That's an interesting question, Michaela. Nobody has ever said this was premeditated. The concept behind what the prosecution claimed was that he lost it. All those years of supporting her, and then she wants to, like, whatever she was getting into sexually, whatever, it was too much for him. That's their claim. And therefore it was a rage crime. And he got convicted of manslaughter, not a premeditated homicide. So basically that he lost it. That's what they're claiming. Power and control. From I don't think from the husband. I think she was into power and control. I think he was that dolt. I think so. Okay. Pam says they were fighting and he threw her phone out the door. Okay. Now, this is interesting point you made. All right. I'm going to go with it. I saw a bunch of places where the prosecution said, and then he just threw her phone out the door because he was mad at her and she was on the phone too much. And I'm like, are you just making up that story, or did he actually say that? So it drove me crazy because I wanted to actually know whether he said he did that, or you're coming up with a good concept. 10 seconds. Yeah, you could open the door and throw somebody's phone out, but does that mean you did that? I mean, most people don't throw people's phones out the door. So I wanted to make sure if the prosecution's claim that, and you're thinking it might be true, did he actually say that? So, because this is in the testimony. At some point, prosecutor Daniel McBrayer said an argument erupted. He is tired and fed up with this Instagram stuff. I think he's talking about OnlyFans, but all right. McBrayer said he grabs her phone and chucks it out the front door where it lands in the street. Prior testimony showed that Kat West's phone was cracked. Okay, so that's the prosecutor's story. Be careful of a prosecutor's story anymore. That's like the defense. Defense can make up any story they dang well please, and so can the prosecutor. So they shouldn't, in my opinion, but they do. So just because they say that's what happened doesn't mean that's what happened. And you should be very careful to say, I have a theory that this could have happened, rather than this is what happened. I believe if you present something as a fact you don't know as a fact, you're just a liar. So, but then let's look further. Though his memory was hazy from alcohol, Jeff recalled that at one point he grew aggravated by Kat constantly looking at her phone, according to Henley. He wound up throwing her phone outside just before he went to bed. Oh, wait a minute. Now I got to make sure that, okay. He did say this. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I'm not going to find it. Oh. He also said they did argue over drinking because he didn't like her drinking. And then the phone thing, I swear to God, I did read this, and now I'm concerned that the prosecutor's name was in there. Okay, he recalled at one point he grew aggravated by he wound up throwing her phone outside just before he went to bed. Now, this is stated as a statement. He recalled that at one point he grew aggravated by Kate constantly looking at her phone. He wound up throwing her phone outside just before he went to bed. Now, this says, according to Henley, Henley, I don't know who Henley is. This was part of the trial. Again, the information here is dismal, and none of these shows did a good job with it. I would like to see that in writing, but I don't have it. But supposedly, according to this is what he stated. Now, if he stated this, that 10 seconds makes 100% sense. So, why? Because who opens the door for 10 seconds? I need a breath of fresh air. What? 10 seconds is very short. So, but opening the door and pitching somebody's phone, that's a person who's very, very angry. I would say that's rage. People throw phones. My daughter says she threw it at my son once when they were kids. He pissed her off and she just chucked the phone across the room and hit him in the head. She said she did that. I did not see that. But people throw phones. They throw their own phones in anger sometimes just because they just get so angry and that stupid thing is in your hand and it's heavy and it could make a nice smashing sound if it hits something. And then if you do it yourself, then you're like, oh man, I hurt my little phone. If it's somebody else's phone, then you might pick it up and go, you stupid idiot, and throw the phone and not kiss the phone after that. And not feel bad that the phone got broken or whatever. Throwing it out the door, as opposed to across the room, ripping it out of the hands and just tucking it, that's a major statement from a person who's really pretty pissed off. Now, when it says she was on her phone too much, doing what? They're on a date night. They're drinking. Why is she on the phone? What is she doing? And I'm going to say it's OnlyFans. That's what drove him over the edge as far as I'm not saying he's guilty yet or that he is. I'm just saying that would be a cause for anger, that he finally is like, what was she doing? Was she talking to guys? Was she telling them she's going to do things for them? Something that was a little bit too much. But he throws the phone out the door, closes it, and then says he went to bed. Did he go to bed? And what was she doing? Okay, now before that door reopens at 1 o'clock in the morning for no reason whatsoever, right? Who opened the door for 4 hours? What does that mean? I'll get to that in a second. All right, let's go to the next most interesting thing to me. And this is the step issue. Both of them had iPhones and they had that health thing on there that counts the steps. Listen to this. Data retrieved from Kat West's cell phone shows the last movements her phone tracked before her death. She took 87 steps between 10:45 p.m. and 10:54. Now, what was happening about 10:54? Do you remember? What was happening at 10:54? Come on, my profilers. Now, again, she took 87 steps, and her last movement was 10:54. What occurred then? The door was closed, and then what? What happened at 10:54, according to the husband, and the door opening and closing for 10 seconds? That was a hint. He threw the phone out the door. She took, before that happened, for 87 steps. Now, 87 steps, then the door opened up, the phone was flung out and shut. Oh, the door opened. Okay, this one said the door was closed, and there's a door open. The door opened, yes, and then closed. All right. She ran. No, this is what, she ran after the phone with her naked butt. No, I do not think so. Okay. And this is where I think this is where I got really confused. And I did consider that. And I'm going to go through why I think that didn't happen. But I absolutely went there too. I thought, okay, the guy throws her phone out. She runs out to get her phone, and he closes the door. But if that happened, how did she end up dead on the side of the road? Where does the 87 steps come in? It's a very short distance. It's not 87 steps to where the phone would have been flung. Now, she could have run after it, run around, and then fell, possibly. And he looked at her and just shut the door, throw the phone. But then she'd have to be, since it was 10 seconds, he throws the phone. She'd have to push by him and then run 87 steps to get the phone. But he couldn't have been behind her, whacking her with a bottle, because the door is closed. In 10 seconds, he doesn't have time to go chase her down and whack her with a bottle and get back within 10 seconds. And the door never opened up again until 1-some in the morning. So only one of them could have even made it through the door. I think the 87 steps happened inside the house, not outside the house. Because when people are arguing, what are you doing? She's running around, she's yelling, they're yelling at each other, she's moving. She's got her phone in her hand. He's pissed off. He doesn't have his phone. His phone does not record that he's running around. Mind you, the phone does not record your steps unless it's on you. So if your phone's laying on a table, that's not recording you doing anything. We don't know what the heck his steps were doing. We know she's running around. I think he's like yelling at her, running after her. She's moving around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally he gets hold of the damn phone, opens up the door and chucks it and closes the door and that's where they're at. That's what I believe happened. Yes, this is correct. It couldn't measure her steps when it wasn't on her unless she had a watch type. That is correct. Yeah. So she could have gone out and did those 87 steps, but he could not have followed her and gotten back in the house in 10 seconds. So either she really did go out. Now, mind you, the issue is over the phone. Is she really drinking out of the bottle at the same time? And then he grabs the phone, throws it out, and then she runs out of the house with a bottle in her hand, reaches down to get the phone, trips, smashes her head on the curb. And then he just shut the door behind her and went to bed. Now, they do say he got up. Now, this is something. He said he didn't wake up again until 5:15 when he was awakened by his dogs barking. But although he said that, he went to bed at 10:30. His phone data showed he took 18 steps from 11:03 to 11:10 p.m. 11:03 to 11:10 p.m. right after she goes out the door, theoretically, to change the phone, or she doesn't leave. I said, well, maybe he woke up and went to the bathroom. Well, now I do take my phone to the bathroom a lot, but that's me. Most people don't take their phones to the bathroom. They leave the phones by the side of the bed. They go pee and then come back. He's not going to take his phone with him. So there's no reason for him to have footsteps and waking up in the night to go to the bathroom. I don't think he had ever gone to bed. I think at that point in time, for whatever reasons, he picked up his phone. And maybe, I don't know what he's going to do. And then he put the phone down. And that's all that happened. He picked the phone up and he walked 18 steps. Now, he couldn't have gone out of the house because the door didn't open up till 1 o'clock in the morning. So that he was in the house walking around. She may have been in the house walking around, but now her phone was not there. So they could have been arguing, having sex, whatever they're doing. Now she ends up without panties on. Is it possible once he threw the phone out, he blocks the door and he says, you just blah, 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 blah. And she goes, ah, and they start having sex. I don't know. But then the door opens up again at 1 o'clock in the morning and it's left open for 4 hours. What happened then? Now, is this the time when she actually goes out to get the phone? She doesn't have the phone in her hand, so her steps would not be marked. He doesn't have a phone in his hand. Is she running out the door? Well, I'm going to get my stupid phone. And she's runs out without her panties on, runs out across the street. Now he's pissed. He's got maybe they were drinking again. He's got the bottle in his hand. He goes out and she says something to him and he whacks her. Is this possible? And then she falls and he says, oh my God, she's laying in the grass. What the heck? So he moves her body, just picks her up and moves her just enough to maybe it look like she hit her head here or she got hit by a car. And then he places the phone. So the phone is there. And then he puts the bottle down and says, well, it looked like she was drinking out there. And he goes back in the house. And then he leaves the door open. Why? Because he wants to make it look like she went out and by her, and never came back in and he was sleeping. So this is a possible story. I'm not saying it's probable, I'm saying it's possible. But the defense attorney will bring up something. And here's I think the most interesting part. And then we'll go back over all this and you can see if you can shoot things down or support things. The issue is over the bottle. Now, the bottle this is the whole thing. This is the same shape as the bottle. Now, his fingerprints were found on the bottle. However, they were found. So how does this go? They were found here and here. Thumbprint and fingerprint. Now, the prosecution tries to claim he picked up this bottle like this and hit her over the head. Now, the defense attorney says, well, first of all, the dude's not left-handed. And he's correct. The guy is right-handed. Usually people don't pick up this bottle to go hit somebody. If they're right-handed, they're not going to use their left hand to do that. It's just very rare that they would do that. So the defense has a great theory that what's the reason his hand would be on the bottle like this? His left hand, not even his right hand. The defense says because he pulled the bottle out of the bag like this. Okay. Except, first of all, again, he's using his left hand, which is unnatural. Could I pull the bottle out of the bag with my left hand? I could. But would I? First of all, I will pull the bottle out this way. I don't need to put my hand upside down to take a bottle out of a bag. What the hell do I need to do that crap for? So I would just take my right hand and pick the bottle up like that. I find this concept that not only does he get the bottle out this way, but he's using his left hand to get the bottle. A defense story. This is where you try to figure out some way to get his hand like this on the bottle. However, I agree with them. He's right-handed. Why in the heck would he be hitting her left-handed with this bottle? Whack. Besides which, she's hit. Well, if she was facing away from him, he would hit her on the left side of the head. If she were facing him, it would be. He could do that, but it's awkward as heck because he's right-handed. I don't think that's the way it happened. So let me show you what I think happened. And I went through this and I was like, how the heck does this hand get in that position? All right, let's go back to the. Now, supposedly this is a full bottle. And let me tell you, this son of a gun is really heavy. You could hear it even hit the table. It's heavy. This is the same size, same shape as the absinthe bottle. Very heavy. This one, I poured half the liquor out. This is not the shape of an absinthe bottle, but I just happen to have it around. So I poured half of this out so I could feel the difference in weight. Now, this is 750 milliliters. This is 750 milliliters. This is slightly lighter type of bottle. This is a slightly heavier type of bottle. I wish I did have the absolute absinthe bottle, but I do not. So therefore, what can I say? Again, I'm the educational channel. I mean, yes, I'd have to search for it in Maryland. They won't send absinthe through the mail. I'd have to find it someplace to test out the exact things. If I were doing this if I were actually hired by the police to do this, I would absolutely 100% use a real absinthe bottle. I wouldn't use a replacement. I had a case where I had a young man shot himself in a vehicle. I luckily owned that exact vehicle, so that saved me that problem. But he used a particular shotgun. I went to Walmart and bought that shotgun, and then I had my son sit in the front seat and I shot him in the head. No, it was all pretend. But I had to have the same car and the same shotgun so I could see if it could be done, if he could kill himself or somebody shot him from the back seat or the front seat. I had to have the real stuff. If I were doing this real case, I'd have the real bottle of absinthe, but I do not. So I got as close to it as I could. Now, this is a full bottle. I want to show you something happens. I'm going to grab this bottle with my right hand like this so I could knock it over somebody's head. Now watch me. What do you notice? Chug, chug. No, don't notice that. I am not drinking that. I'm returning this one. Taylor said something that makes sense. Both hands, says Kurtz. I want to see what Taylor said. Where did Taylor go? Yeah, well, that is true. Most people I know take their phone to the bathroom. All right, maybe not if you're drunk in the middle of the night. This dude just had to pee. You need to work out. Well, that is true. I do need to work out. Okay, it's too heavy. Now, mind you, this is a dude. He's stronger than me, but this is a freaking heavy bottle. And when I go to hit it, it loses its accuracy. So what I would do as a right-handed person is I would grab this right here, and then I'd nail. I could hit exactly where I wanted to hit. And where does that put the thumb of the left hand and the finger of the right hand? Puts it exactly where the thumb and fingerprint were found. So he would be using his right hand, but because of the weight of the bottle and just accuracy. And I did test it with half a bottle because supposedly it was half a bottle, but again, I don't know the truth of that. I'm sure pour this all over myself. This is which is lighter now. It is lighter. I can do this now, but the accuracy and the solidness of being able to really, it's like a baseball bat. You can do that with a baseball bat, but if you grab this, you've got a solid swing, a solid hit, just like that. And that is exactly where his fingers were. I can't see any reason why he would pick up a bottle like this to try to hit somebody with one hand with your hands up here. That is awkward. Even if I do it with the right hand, that's freaking awkward. It's even more awkward the heavier a bottle is. It's just, if I were going to pick up a bottle, you could do it, but it's just awkward. I would just grab it like this and nail them. So to me, that is the most likely reason his thumb and fingerprint are on the bottle. Also, another interesting thing, you will see that the bottle cap is off, according to at least what I'm seeing in these shows. And to me, the bottle cap should be back in the kitchen, unless it was on the bottle. So at some point, was the bottle actually capped and corked again? And then somebody came out and hit her. And then when they put the bottle down, they just took the top off and dropped it. So it looked like the bottle was open. She was drinking from it. That to me makes a lot more sense. Then if he came out, if at 1:00 she went out to get the phone, she says, I'm going to get my phone. I'm going to get my phone. And he's pissed. They're yelling at each other. And he grabs the bottle, follows her out there, and she grabs her phone and he whacks her. Stages the scene. The door is open. He walks back in and says, well, hey, I'm going to make it look like she just walked out drunk. I'm not going to close it. I'm going to pretend I was sleeping. Interestingly, the defense attorney says he's wearing the same clothes he was seen in the liquor store, and clearly there's no blood on those clothes. So clearly he wasn't wearing the clothes and killing her. Well, first of all, just because you hit somebody in the head doesn't mean blood spatters necessarily back on you, especially this kind of hit. The blood, after it hits her and she goes down, the blood just goes into the ground. If he picked her up and pulled her slightly, doesn't mean he's going to get blood on him either. But my question is, it's 10:30 at night. He's got to get up for work in the morning. Does he usually go to bed with all his clothes on? I mean, if he was drunk, he could, but would he, if he's going to go to bed for the night? But if he's up the whole damn night because things are happening, there's another possibility too, which, just to point out, supposedly there's a possibility they had sex, but it appeared she had sex, but there was some evidence, but not strong enough to be able to prove exactly what happened. Did she take off her clothes? Were they having sex? Which means that he may have been disrobed himself. He could have followed her out to the curb naked too. I mean, God knows what goes on with him. He could have done that too, and then come back in and then washed up a little bit and put his clothes back on. If you've just hit your wife in the head, you don't know what to do. You probably don't go to sleep. You're probably just sitting there wondering what's going to happen. And when you figure somebody's going to find the wife's body pretty soon. You figure the police might be coming after you. You got all these thoughts running through your head. You're probably not sleeping. So for me, when I look at this crime, I can't come up with this as an accidental death. I don't see it. Could she have gone out? Could she have gone out at when the 10 seconds happened? Did she race after her phone, still carrying the bottle for whatever reasons, trip and smash her head, and the bottle just fell on her phone, and doesn't really work for me? Or could she come out at 1 o'clock in the morning and do the same thing? He's asleep, and she says, I'm going to go, she's drinking out of the bottle. I'm going to go get my phone. And she goes out there and she trips and falls. That is what the defense would like you to believe. And they will say the reason his left hand prints are on this bottle is because he took it out of the paper bag or something like that, which to me just makes no sense. I'm still with this, because this to me makes a whole lot more sense as to the exact placement of the thumbprint and the fingerprint. And you wouldn't necessarily see any fingerprints when you're holding it like this. So on the lower part, they had some others, they couldn't get anything from them. But the last most clear ones were these two. And so would I have found him guilty in a court of law? Circumstantially. What happened right before she died? A fight did occur. A man who throws her phone across the street, that's rage. A fight did occur. That things were not, they were having issues in their marriage, and that's what the text messages showed, in spite of the fact they tried to say, oh, but then he was so nice in return. No, there were problems in the marriage. She wanted to do stuff he didn't want to do or could not do. That night, after drinking, he got pissed at her. There's no question that he got pissed at her. He said he did, and threw her phone out the door. And then from that moment on, the real question is, did she stumble out and trip and end up hitting her head, and then things just fell into certain places and somehow blood got onto the lawn further away? Or did she go out at 1 o'clock in the morning during still whatever they were involved in, and he went after her? And whether he had the bottle in his hand on purpose or not, I don't know. But he went after her and hit her because he was fed up and angry. And then he tried, what do I do? Pull her into the street a little bit to make it look like it was an accident. Lay down the bottle so it looked like she's half naked and drunk, and she's, okay, just lay that stuff there and run back in the house. They said, oh, he'd do better because he was, he was an army guy. Supposed he understood crime scene stuff. If you've just murdered your wife, not premeditated, but you were just in this rage and you hit her because you lost it. And I don't believe much in crime of passion, because I always say something's coming before that. Something is already in your head that you would do that if. I would do that if. But there are some times in the middle of an argument, I can see that people get a little bit more aggressive than they should get. But hitting a wife in the head with a bottle is pretty aggressive. But that bottle caused their problems, along with her nakedness caused their problems. And was he enabling her to have all those problems? Oh, yes, he was. But was he taking responsibility for his own part? I don't see it. I see him constantly saying, I'm just the best guy in the world. I'm a great guy. I did nothing wrong. I love her. I've always been there for her, blah, blah, blah. And that's what his family seems to believe. And that's what the friends believe. And that's what her parents believe. But an enabler is not a person who is doing the right thing. An enabler who enables his wife to be an alcoholic and encourages her to be an alcoholic and encourages her to do pornography while raising a child. Sorry, he needs to go to therapy too. So he's not any perfect guy. He's getting something out of this sick relationship, in my opinion. And at that point in time, I think he wasn't getting what he wanted, and she pushed him a little too far. And at that moment, he couldn't enable her. He disabled her. So, and then what do you do? Again, if I were on the jury, I don't know what the jury heard. I feel like I'm missing a whole lot of information, which might help, but I certainly lean toward that the evidence, the circumstantial evidence and the fingerprint evidence and the blunt force trauma evidence and this physical evidence here, which is physical evidence, this does not show an accident to me at all. And since it doesn't show an accident to me, the only other choice is that the blunt force trauma came from somebody else. And his fingerprints were in that location on the bottle, which I think is very, to me, it seems to be exactly what makes total sense to me. And a lot of his statements seem to support something went wrong that night and he assaulted her. And so I would, based on what I know, I would say he looks guilty to me. I think that it appears that the jury came to the right decision, but I, again, don't have everything. I'm just getting what I'm getting from these really terrible documentaries. Well, there's an interesting point. Having a trophy wife wore thin. You know, trophy wives, they expect a lot from the mate. And they're playing their part. And their part is a lot of work. And they expect a lot in return. And they can be very very needy. Constantly. You gotta keep up with them and have them do everything they want to. I can't even imagine being. I've never been that. I personally, I don't think I was ever that kind of person. I took care of a lot of stuff myself, and I'm like, hey, I need a little bit of separation, and you don't have to do everything for me. But there are high maintenance women out there. They have to be constantly told they're beautiful, constantly told they're sexy. And he kept telling her that you're sexy, you're sexy, you're sexy. Well, she was getting up there in age, and she was getting less sexy by the day, which is why she had to have the boob job. And so, to keep her happy, he had to provide her with this constant influx of praise and attention. And after 14 years, you get a little weary of that kind of stuff. And you can't dredge up the emotion anymore to do that all the time. And then that person gets angry, because if your person's highly narcissistic and you don't keep the narcissistic stream of love and affection and attention going, they can become pretty bitter. And they said she could get angry. So clearly she had issues if you just not give me the attention. So that night, who knows? He took pictures, a couple naked pictures of her, half naked pictures of her. Maybe she wanted more proof of something at that moment. He couldn't get it up or something, or just wasn't into it as much as she wanted to be into, And then she started saying things, getting angry. She's drunk. God knows what she said to him. God knows what he said to her. But I believe that those 87 steps? 87 steps. Yeah, but right around when that door opened and closed, I believe that was where the argument was going. Not necessarily a physical fight, but argument was happening right then. There was anger going on, and that phone was thrown out because of that. Now, whether she went out right then, which I don't think so, or whether she went out, how much later would it be? Door closed again at 10:30. So it would have been, what was it? 1:51. So it would have been like a few hours later. Could the anger still have been going then? He doesn't have time in that 10 seconds to go out and whack her one. So I find it more likely that this went on further. He said he went to bed at 10:30. I don't think so. I think they could have continued drinking, continued arguing, and then finally she said, "I'm going to go get my damn phone," and I'm going to do what I want to do, and that's where it all went down. So I think more likely, yeah. What the time was at 1:51 in the morning. I go with that. Neither one of them had the phone. So there was no steps for him and no steps for her, because neither one of them would have phone on them at that time. She'd be going for her phone, and his phone would be back at the house. Now she could still have the bottle in her hand. This is possible. She could have picked up the bottle at that point and was drinking from it, and then said, "I'm going to go get my phone." And he's like grabbed the bottle from her and then went after her. And you can make up all kinds of little scenarios. But the only scenario I can't come up with is an accidental death. I just don't see that really fits the evidence. Oh, okay. I wanted to get to that. Thank you for asking. Why not accept a plea deal then? This is why a lot of people think he's 100% innocent. He could have walked at that point in time. It just said, okay, it was an Alford plea, by the way. An Alford plea is where you say, okay, you've got enough evidence against me, and I'm still going to say I didn't do it, but you got enough evidence against me that I'll take the Alford plea, and therefore it'll go down in my record as I committed the crime, but I won't go to prison now. He would already been in jail for, I guess, a real long time, like 3 years or whatever it takes to get to court these days. And so he would have had time served and walked. Why wouldn't he have done that? Theoretically, he could have told everybody, could have told his family, look, I didn't do it. So you all know I didn't do it. So I'm going to take this because I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. I want to be there for my daughter. But he didn't. So does that make him more innocent or less innocent? You could say, well, if he was, the reason he didn't take the deal is because he's 100% innocent. He wasn't going to admit to something he did not do. He didn't want people, if he admitted to it, then people would think he was guilty. And he'd have that on him for the rest of his life. His daughter might think he was guilty. His family might think he was guilty. His friends might think he was guilty. Work in the future, they might think he is guilty. He didn't want to have that on him when he wasn't guilty. But on the other hand, if everybody believed he was innocent, he could have just told them, I took that because I wanted to be with my family. So why didn't he do it? And I don't think we can get inside his head. Did he think he could just simply, that the evidence, because it was so circumstantial, that the jury would never find him guilty? Maybe he just thought that. He thought, I'm not going to admit to this and have this on my record and have people think I actually did it, even if I did, because I think I'm just going to get off. And when I get off, I don't have to worry about anything. But that was something that makes people think he's innocent. But to me, the evidence doesn't point that direction. So, I take myself out of what everybody says about him, how he's a super nice guy and he's never, ever been violent. He's the sweetest guy ever. And there's nothing wrong with the marriage, yet there was something wrong with the marriage. So that's just not true. So you have to be careful what people say and what is actually true. Obviously, even her, everybody said, oh, she's so fun. She's this, she's sweet, she's that, she's the best mother, the best. She was not. My God, she might be friendly and laughy and, fun to be around. She could be the life of the party. Maybe she would do things for you. But all her choices in life were highly narcissistic and damaging to the people around her. So she wasn't the perfect person at all. That's just nonsense. She obviously, if she really wanted to do right by her family, she would have gone to counseling, got off of the alcohol, and never done porn. She would have raised her daughter. Supposedly she's happily married. If she was so happily married, did she really need to do what she was doing? Her daughter was going to school. She could have gotten a nice job. Her husband was working. He got a pension, I think, he retired from the military. I think he got money there too. She wanted the attention. That was what she was about, getting massive attention through being an exhibitionist. That is not a healthy human being. People kept saying, that's not okay. I love this whole, sometimes we have a kind of a weird new cultural world where everything everybody does is okay. That no matter what you do, being swingers is cool. That's nothing wrong with that. Having a polyamorous marriage where you have more than one person and have a bunch of people in a marriage, that's just cool. It's not really. It's just it's a lot of mental illness going on, and a lot of people psychologically aren't doing healthy things. They're not in a healthy, committed relationship. They're doing stuff that is because people think sex should just be a hobby as opposed to an expression of love. They turn it into a toy, and there's a lot of stuff going on with that. They're just extremely unhealthy. So the sadomasochism stuff is extremely unhealthy. Bondage stuff is extremely unhealthy. These are not healthy people. And if people want to come after me and hate me for saying that, sorry, I don't think you're a healthy person. If you're involved with tying up your mate and whipping them and watching them in pain because you think it's fun, you got a serious sick problem. You're a sadist. And if you're willing to let somebody do that to you, you got a problem too. So there's this whole thing where no matter what a person behaves like, it's all cool. No, it isn't. There are limits to being a healthy human being and having a healthy family. It's not a healthy family. To take pictures of your wife, to show other men, to have other men drool over your wife, because that makes you feel good because it makes your wife attractive. You don't need other men to drool over your wife that way. You could just take your wife to a party and have her put on a pretty dress and men say, oh, your wife is lovely. That might be quite enough. But if you feel a need to take naked pictures of your wife and God knows what else, and have other men looking at your wife and you are okay with it, dude, you got a problem. And she's got a problem that her own husband is seeing that. And I guess what happened is even the husband who has the ability and interest in doing that got to a point where she wanted to go way further than he was willing to go. And I don't know what that was because they're playing that down. All they said was she might want to have sex with women. And usually guys aren't that upset about that. If she has sex with other men, they have more problems than if she experiments with other women. That's just the way men are. They're like, oh, can I watch? So I think she was going to step out with her OnlyFans fans. I think she was going to move to the next level. I think maybe hardcore porn and maybe video hardcore porn. But we don't know that because that's all quiet. But the fact is she's got a trajectory. She's already been involved in prostitution, in my opinion, and all kinds of other things that are just unhealthy as all get out. She gets married. She had a chance to pull into a healthy lifestyle, but she didn't stay with a healthy lifestyle. She went into porn and alcohol and I don't know what else. So, and he was an enabler. And I guess got to the point where enabling didn't amuse him anymore. And now he was getting angry. So the honeymoon is over. Well, that's an interesting point. Yeah, this is. I don't know what the actual comment was prior to this, but your daughter goes to school, and then what? Your mother's name, Kat West, is on OnlyFans, and her picture's on OnlyFans. And even if you don't see the hardcore stuff, it's still there, half naked, blurred out, whatever. Now you go to school, and the kids go, "I saw your naked mommy on OnlyFans. Your mommy's a hoe." Who does that to their kid? I'm sorry. That's not good parents. That's terrible parents. Poor child. Just sad. Very, very sad. I'm going back up to see other comments here. Okay, that's interesting. May have been carrying the 2 bottles, one in each hand. Upset. Why? Unlikely. See, this is you're a good defense attorney. I mean, generally speaking, when you buy stuff, they put it in a bag and carry the bag home, and then you take the stuff out of the bag. Could you take it up? It's upside down. It's possible. But why? Again, if he's going to claim that he didn't do it because he did, the person who did it was using their right hand, and that would be a left-handed hit, and he's right-handed, well, then he would also take the thing out of the bag with his right hand. So as I always point out, it's the totality of the evidence. It's not one thing. It's not one thing. It's a whole bunch of things together. He did throw the phone out of the house. Therefore, there was a fight and there was rage. And so that was there prior to the next thing happening. Next thing happens, wives end up dead on the road, naked, half naked, almost naked. And the crime and the blood doesn't match her falling. And actually, I don't think the injury matches her falling either. And this stage stuff doesn't look like falling either. So then when you put all that stuff, the throwing out of the phone, the marriage being in trouble, the actual blood evidence and where her body was, and where the stage stuff looks like a stage, and then you look at the bottle, and you say, now, does this make sense? Yes, it does, because it matches it goes with all the rest of the stuff. So it's not one thing. One thing doesn't take you over the finish line in a lot of cases, especially those that are not DNA dependent, or something is so obvious that it's just, you don't have to put things together to figure it out. But when you have a bunch of things that occur, the defense attorney and this the guy on the show, the forensic pathologist, he only tried to explain away one thing, and that was basically contra coup, whatever. There's a coup contra coup, all those things. He had a contra coup explanation, and that's why I think he didn't do it, and she fell. On what? How did, if she fell and hit her head and it caused the contra coup thingy, where exactly did she fall, and why is the blood in two different places, and why is this here? He doesn't explain all of that. He just explains one piece of it and then ignores all the rest of it. See, that's the same thing we see sometimes happen in a court of law. They have one thing which somebody throws out there and says, see, this happened. Like Karen Reed, the dog attacked his arm, which it didn't. But okay, somebody says it's dog attack. And because they say dog attack, that one statement eliminates the car hitting him, and it puts him in the house, which therefore he got killed in. And so everything else is eliminated. Then let's ignore all the other evidence, because we're going to say this is a dog attack, and therefore that proves everything else doesn't matter. So what this guy on the show did was say, I think that she fell and hit her head, and therefore that's why some blood was over here. And therefore we will ignore the staging of this. We'll ignore the blood. We'll ignore the fight. We'll ignore literally everything. And we'll just go with that. It will just say that obliterates all the other evidence. And I think that's nonsense. Because first of all, it's not absolutely true that this is what happened with her brain, because you can have that same thing happen if somebody hits you on the side of the head. So he's just taking, I think it's this. Well, it could be that, but it could also be this. And therefore, then you take those two possibilities and you look at the rest of the evidence, and then you decide, which is what theoretically, when you get into a courtroom, all of that's supposed to be presented, and the jury is supposed to include all of that evidence and all of that, whether it be forensic, whether it be physical, whether it be circumstantial or behavioral or statement analysis, whatever. You put all of it together, and then you come up with what happened at the scene. Do you find that person guilty or not guilty? Or do you have reasonable doubt because of something? But I find it interesting when someone comes up with one piece of information and says that eliminates everything else. Now, mind you, is it possible the guy reached in with his left hand and grabbed the bottle like this and pulled it out and pulled it out of the bag? Sure, it is possible. So that doesn't mean I eliminate all the other possibility, because this is possible. And because I believe this is very possible, doesn't mean I eliminate that this is possible. But when I put everything together, I think that this is much more probable, much more natural, much more likely, along with the rest of all the evidence. So, and again, I don't know what the rest, I don't know. I would love to have seen all the interrogations. I'd love to see all the rest of the information, which is all missing out of these shows. And I could not find it anyplace. So I don't know if there would be more to support what I'm saying or less to support what I'm saying. I don't know. But from what I'm seeing, I think they probably got it right. Thanks, Pat. And Pat's chat. I have to get Uber Eats for some absinthe and sign up for OnlyFans now. Well, have a good evening with all that, you know. You don't even have to leave your house, too. Oh, did any of these documentaries that seem to be on Jeff's side offer alternate theories? Just a little, mostly just a little bit what the police said. They showed they explained a little bit of what the police believed in the theory, but it was really done very minimally. See, that's the problem. There's so much manipulation in these documentaries, so much editing. I don't even know if what they're saying is what they really said, because that's why I won't do them anymore. Because if I explain something, let's say, okay, here's a great example: Pat Brown. How do you think his fingerprints could have ended up there? And I say, from examining all of the evidence, I believe because he's right-handed, and this is a very heavy bottle, he picked it up with the right hand, but then used his left hand to gain control like a baseball bat and smashed like this. That to me is the most likely. Well, Pat, is there any other possibilities? Well, it is possible for whatever reasons. He reached into the bag and pulled out the bottle like this. I don't know why he'd do that, but I think he could have done that. Or, yeah. Now, they will eliminate the whole thing I said. They will completely cut this. And then when I say, well, it's possible, cut. He reached into the bag and pulled it out. It's not probable, but that's not going to be there. So the only thing they're going to say is, Pat, what do you think he could have done? He could have reached into the bag and pulled the bottle out just like this. And that's what you'll get. And you have no idea that was not my main point. And when I see that later, I get so pissed off because now, first of all, it looks like I'm misanalyzing evidence or I'm supporting a certain agenda, which I'm not. And that's why I won't do it anymore. I have been so edited, and I've even had them put in fake, ask me one question and then replace it with a different question when the show came up. And I'm like, they didn't ask me that question. So my answer to whatever I answered to was not actually the answer to the question I was asked. This is how unethical they are. So if I do any shows these days, I'm very cautious about, okay, you want me to talk about this particular case. First of all, am I the host of the show so that I am going to be at least running the thing? Or am I just going to be one of the many people you bring in to talk? And then you're going to edit me. So, and I don't know where you're going with it. So I had that problem in a couple recently. And I asked them specifically, I said, I need a signature here that you're going to put in what I say without editing. And they wouldn't sign. And so I didn't do the show. So. Because I said, I've been there, done that, and did not like what I saw and what I've been through. So if I'm going to talk about, for example, serial killers or something, it's just kind of a general show where, yeah, they may edit me, and what I say may be a little boring or limited, or I'm like, well, I said way more than that, but at least it's not going to do me in, and I might do that, but do a show where it's a specific case, because if I did this case, I could end up looking like I completely supported the forensic pathologist in the show, because I could have said, well, yeah, this the way the brain works. It could be that she could have hit something that's solid, like the curb, and then that's all I say. And they don't talk. What about all the stuff I said about the blood spatter? What about the staging? What about the bottle? What about that's all gone. Because all they put in is whatever I do that will support him. Therefore, yeah, that's how I don't do that anymore. Or that he's not guilty. You get rid of the not, and that, yeah, somebody could, that it can happen. That absolutely can happen. Usually they add it before and after. So you have to be very careful about, if you're setting up a premise, you can't say something like, it is unlikely as a serial killer, but sometimes serial killers do this. Unlikely he's a serial killer, they take that whole section out. So sometimes when I did these shows, I had to be very careful that I didn't have something leading into it that was important, that I wanted this to be understood before I went to part 2. Can't do that. You have to make sure it's all in one spot so that they can't edit. And you can't add anything on the end. So it's very tricky. You have to almost a one sentence statement that can't be manipulated. So I don't, that's why I don't like doing that stuff anymore. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like what I see. So I stopped doing it. Are my arms tinted blue? Are they? Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Are they tinted blue? Oh, they kind of are. Yeah, I forgot to take a shower. I think it's probably the blue reflecting green. The whole screen and light thing does weird stuff, and I'm not professional, and I don't have a professional studio and camera people, and wouldn't that be nice? But I don't have that. So let's just see if there are any other comments before we stop on this today. This is a comment. Accepting a plea deal would have affected his relationship with his daughter and possibly other family members and friends. Depending on whether you could convince him he was only taking the plea deal because he wanted to be with the family and the child. But I don't know. I say we can't. It's getting into somebody's head exactly into why they did or did not choose that. He could have not. I look at myself. Okay, would I have taken the plea deal? The old say, I've told this story before, I'll tell it again. See, it's a famous story about a yogi and a student. And the student asked the yogi, what do you think about all living things? And the yogi says, all living things are beautiful and wonderful and are from God. So we should never harm any living things. That's why I'm a vegan and, I don't harm any animals. And so the student says, well, what about if there are a cobra in front of you? What about cobras? And he goes, well, cobras are the same thing. I wouldn't hurt a cobra. And then he leans in and goes, but of course there's not a cobra in front of me right now. And that's the way truth is. So let's say I was accused of doing something I did not do. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, let's say my kids were young. I have a 5-year-old, 2 5-year-old sons and a 7-year-old daughter. And I want to be with my kids and I want to raise my children. And I've been accused of something I didn't do. And they tell me, the attorney tells me, look, you're probably going to get 20 years. And by the time you get out of prison, your kids will be grown. And some other woman will be raising your kids with your husband. Or you can take that Alfred plea and say, you've got enough evidence on me. I'll take the plea. And then you get to go home to your kids. I am basically a truth teller. And I say, I put the word basically in there. So statement analysis would say, but you're not always a truth teller. Why did you use the word basically? But I am a truth teller. Let me get this right. So most people do have a lot of trust in me that I'm a truthful person. I don't lie, basically. So the question would be, all right, now this is where I'm at. Would I be able to actually say that, take a guilty plea when I'm not guilty? Could I do that? And I would say no. It's just something I'm against that kind of thing. That's a lie. I'm against it. I don't want to admit to things I did not do. It would appall me. But what if I thought I wouldn't see my children ever again? Would I just say, screw it? The system is corrupt. I'll go ahead and do whatever I have to do to be with my kids. My family knows I didn't do it. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't have that sitting in front of me right now. I think I know what I would do. Or do I? So there are things we know we wouldn't do, but there are things that we, under certain circumstances, maybe we would, because one is a greater evil. So I don't know. I don't know why did he not take it because he wasn't guilty and he was damn well not going to say he did something to the woman he loved that he didn't do? Or was it because he thought he could beat the system? It was going to get found not guilty. I don't know, and I don't have enough information from the show to understand why he did what he did. I don't know. I find it interesting and possibly meaningful, but I have problems with the rest of the evidence too, because that wasn't that happy a marriage. And they did have a fight that night. And there's this other evidence. So that's supposedly what it is. So theoretically, you can still say you didn't do it. Because one of the cases I'm very interested in is a case I do not believe the guy did it. And he took an Alford plea on the second day of trial. He was already in prison for life for rapes of 2 women. And he was up. This charge was rape and a sexual homicide. I do not believe he committed that crime. I believe I know who did. And I was shocked when he was arrested for it. He was already in prison for life, but he went in. He went in the first day of court. Supposedly, the defense told me, because I said I know there's no DNA, and the defense said the DNA is like really wacky, and I don't think there's any evidence that puts this guy there, or that the DNA is solid. But on the second day, he went into court and he took the Alford plea and said, I'll take the Alford plea. I'll plead guilty, but I did not kill that woman. And the reason he took it, supposedly, they were shocked. They were like, the defense attorney didn't know he was going to do it. So they were like, what? Apparently, he did not like the jail he was staying in, and he didn't want to lose his prison cell by an elongated trial. And he also had a drug issue, and he was getting drugs up there in the old prison. So he's figured, what the heck, I'm in there for life anyway. Fine. I'll take the Alford plea, but I'm going to say I didn't do it. Of course, you can say whatever you want to say. When you take an Alford plea and you're basically saying, let me just read exactly what an Alford plea is, so it's just so I can we'll hear this now. Supposedly that's what they said that they were offering, and why they were offering that, I think, is because so much of the evidence was circumstantial. So what is it? Okay. An Alford plea allows a defendant to plead guilty and accept a plea bargain, even if they claim they are innocent. An Alford plea is based on a voluntary and intelligent choice to avoid a harsher criminal sentence. Okay. The significance of, you admit a guilty plea means you admit guilt and receive a sentence without a trial. Not guilty means you do not admit guilt and will likely go to face a trial. Okay. The criminal consequences of an Alford plea are the same as pleading guilty or no contest. The criminal court still treats an Alford plea as a guilty plea and imposes a criminal sentence, which may include prison sentence or fines. You still have a conviction on your criminal record if you go this route. A background check for employment will still show your conviction. It's a very weird plea, in my opinion. I find it very strange. I want to see what the disadvantage is. Accepting an Alford plea still results in a criminal record, carries long-term consequences such as difficulty in finding employment, housing, or other social stigma. So there's pros and cons of an Alford plea. So I don't know why he did, again, choose what he chose. And I don't know how much his own defense attorney was involved with pushing him or not pushing him, whether he's saying, hey, they're offering you that because they don't have a case and you'll go to court and walk. And now the defense attorney's not going to admit that. So far, Jeff West he was not in any of the programs. He did not speak up. He's been very quiet. He did file an appeal, which did not go through. And he's still in prison. So I don't know. It's one of these cases I would like to know more information than I got 3 documentaries and it still sucked. So that's why I say you have to be a little careful whenever you watch documentaries too. Don't get invested. I may come up, I have my conclusion based on what I see here. I lean toward guilty and I lean toward that he did it. But I'm not invested in this where I have to get bent out of shape for any reason. Or if I thought he was innocent, same thing. I wouldn't have to get bent out of shape about it because I am not on the inside knowing every single shred of information, so that I'm working on this case and I found that there's absolutely for sure this guy was wrongly convicted or whatever, or somebody gets out of prison. I've done so many of those. Person gets out of prison and everybody says he's innocent. He got out with Innocence Project, and I say, hey, as far as I can see, that person's guilty. I find it annoying, but I also, there's also the point that, we only get the information that we're getting. And so you have to just be a little bit, a little accepting of that. Oh, did he? Oh, I forgot. What happened? What did he say? As a matter of fact, it's funny you say that. I saw that he did one and I was going to watch it and I forgot. What did he say? Do you know? Now I'm curious. What did he come up with? Guilty, not? I'm going to say he came up with not guilty. Am I right? He tends to lean toward the not guilty side because most of his analysis, I understand Dr. Grande is a therapist. And by the way, the doctor is legitimate for his name. He's a therapist. He studied psychology. There's nothing wrong. His background is perfectly fine. People get on him for that. And I'm like, come on now. Doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. He knows what he's talking about as far as psychology goes. He's not a crime scene analyst, however, and he tends to lean toward what the more popular interpretation of crimes are. Oh, he thought he was guilty. Really? Oh, that is fascinating. I'm surprised. Now I wish I'd included it in the show because I meant to watch it and I just blanked because I ended up watching the 3 documentaries and I think I was worn out and I forgot about that I'd run into his. He thought he was guilty. Interesting. Was it based on his behaviors or because I say that I'm sure he didn't come up with the bottle thing. That's not his thing. So it would be mostly behaviors, which I don't know that I would find him. Just the behaviors alone would not make me find him guilty. I wouldn't. I mean, he as I said, their marriage was in trouble. He had issues. She had issues. They had a fight that night. There's no question in my mind. But I don't know that I could prove without the evidence and without the fingerprints on the bottle and the timing of coming and going and all that stuff. I don't think I would necessarily say, I think he's guilty. I think I would go, well, certainly some of his behaviors certainly make me think he could do it. That's all. But now I'm going to have to go watch it. So come back on the Hangout this week, and I'll tell you what I think of his analysis and why he came up with what he did. I'll be really curious. So anyway, okay, that's it for today. Thank you for coming, and I will be returning my. It's not very nice that I can return this bottle of liquor because I don't want to drink this. But boy, is it heavy though. I definitely would add especially not so much that a guy can't do this, but that it's unwieldy. So if you can put your hand here, you've got a much better, just like a baseball bat. Works pretty good. Oh, thank you for coming, Harpa. Thank you, Allison. Glad you were here. I didn't know anything about this case either before this, so that's what's fun is that I learned stuff. Spain won. All right, 2-1. Football for you guys in Europe. Soccer for the guys in America. Thank you, Princess. I appreciate it. I'm glad you all. Sure, I didn't see you guys come in, but very, very interesting. Very interesting case. So anyway, I'll see my patrons, some of you during the week for the Hangout. And again, if you're new to the show and would like to be in the chat room, please do click on the link below and join Patreon, or just, hey, just support the channel with a subscription. Just be a sub. It's free. Everything, YouTube is, people get all mean about the ads and stuff on YouTube. Well, why do you have so many ads on your show? Because if I don't have ads on my show, I work more than 40 hours a week and don't get paid anything. And then I can't do this show. I'd have to take another job. That's, people have to earn a living. So yes, the ads pay, help. The patrons help as well, and all the generous people who support the channel. But the ads are also a big part of the income that makes this channel survive. And if you're not paying a penny to watch YouTube shows, you can get over it. You're not even willing to pay for YouTube. You can do that. You can go to YouTube and you can pay. I pay. I think it's, what is it, $15 a month or something? I pay $15 a month. I don't see any ads on YouTube, but that's because I pay not to see ads. So I get all this really good stuff on YouTube. I like to watch some art shows and cooking shows and travel stuff. And I watch a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and I never have to see an ad, but I'm willing to pay $15 a month because, hey, it's, other than that, it's free. But if you don't want to pay $15 a month, you don't have to. You can watch everything for free on YouTube. It's a heck of a deal. It's amazing. But yes, you have to sit through the ads, or do what I do. As soon as the ad comes on something, I go look at my email. You don't have to pay attention to the ads just because they're there. So anyway, thank you for being here, everybody. See you soon.